Victoria Williams has been an active player in the Illinois cannabis industry since 2015. She was one of the original founders of Starbuds Illinois Dispensary. She was the first person in the state of Illinois to be issued a cannabis transportation license and the first Black woman to have her own products on shelves in Illinois dispensaries. She also launched the first minority-owned social equity-infused products brand, achieving retail distribution throughout the state. Currently, Victoria is CEO of ACC of Illinois Transportation, which delivers products from cultivators and infusers to retailers across Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a phenomenal guest. We have Victoria Williams, who has understood her experience from legacy to legal, and she is a major player here in the Illinois cannabis industry. What is something that is very important to you when it comes to this seeing in this cannabis industry that we're not seeing now?
One of the things that bothers me about this industry is the lack of empowerment as it relates to Black men. Black men have the highest arrest rates in the country for cannabis. So it's easy when you walk into these different corporations and you see these different people and it's supposed to be a diverse group. It's nearly still to this day not as many Black men given the opportunity to participate in the legal cannabis industry.
True.
You have like maybe one here, one there, you know, and it's kind of hard to see. It's sad to see, honestly, because I'm a Black woman. I've never been arrested for cannabis, but data is out here that reflects exactly who was actually negatively impacted by the war on drugs, and it was Black men.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see in this industry, I would like to see us empower more Black men, give more Black men opportunities of, and not just opportunities of entry level, but in leaders and positions to lead, you know, allow them to build their own brands and build their own names without you feeling the threat of that. And so that's what I would like to see a lot of people do, but I don't think is, you know.
So a lot of people pretty much, when they think the cannabis industry, their mind immediately goes to dispensaries and licenses. Well, can you give some examples of ways that Black men can become involved in the industry that is not about a dispensary or a license?
Well, you know, there's a video from me being in a barbershop of a basement in 2015, talking to people about getting into the cannabis industry. I want to make sure I'm accurate on the year. I'm not sure that exact year, but it's a video, and I talked about the ancillary businesses. I talked about packaging. Packaging is very, very expensive, you know, and it can be a very lucrative business that you can create for yourself. You don't have to necessarily work in a dispensary. They have cultivation sites. They have transportation. They have infusion, you know. It's so many different areas people can go into in this industry, but they have to be given the opportunity. And I don't believe that there's fair opportunity when it comes to Black men in the cannabis space.
What do you think, Dave? What are your thoughts on opportunities for brothers in the cannabis space right now?
The gap needs to be bridged in terms of like people need to see like the correlation to like, I mean, because I rode through my neighborhood the other day. Ain't nobody stands in front of stores, no, like how I used to go
on the corner.
Like, if you got the mindset to like try to figure out, okay, where am I gonna sell this weed? That same amount of energy, matter of fact, 25% of the energy that it takes and motivation that it takes to stand in front of the store, fully protect yourself, be on point, doing all that, bro. You could just invest. Get in your phone, like open your phone up. Think about yourself, love yourself a little bit and just respect yourself. I'm not finna stand in front of the store like, no, I'm better than that. I'm not finna stand in front of the store. I'm finna get in my phone. I'm gonna go on the internet. I'm gonna research. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna look. LinkedIn, a good place to start. Like you can meet people like in this industry. This industry is really like ground floor.
LinkedIn is a great resource for anybody who wants to network in the cannabis industry because they're one of the few social media platforms, especially depending on your state, that won't delete content that says cannabis or weed or, you know, things like that. They're very pro cannabis industry. So definitely, you know.
Yeah. And I just feel like if it's something like, if it's somebody that really wants it, then they gonna get it. But at the same time, though, I do recognize that we starting like behind. What do you say? Behind the eight ball, like kind of a little bit, because it's like, all right, yeah, okay, I do recognize, I respect myself, I want this for myself, but now I don't know what to do, or now I don't have the skills. They telling me I don't have the skills to do this. Like, well, you got skills to do something. You just need to figure out like how to make yourself. You need to market yourself just like how you would market any other product. You know what I'm saying? Us, what we doing here, providing this platform, like I just want people to see what's going on. Like a lot of times you'll hear like, you know, you say you want to bring more power to the black men. I'm a black man. I talk to other black men in a lot of places. So barbershops, I still find myself in trap from time to time. You know what I'm saying?
It's like to be educated and to know what you want to do.
Yeah,
because if you know what you want to do, even if you don't know how to get there, you can at least ask the right people to put you in that position. So if we're talking about black men and cannabis and mental health, sometimes we find in our communities that even though cannabis can be used for wellness and mental health and kind of making ourselves feel better, we deal with a lot of stuff where we can also overconsume. So how do we reach out to our brothers who may be balancing overconsumption, you know, being too high all the time to be productive, or, you know, being able to get other forms of help that they may need in regards to their mental health while using cannabis to support it? You know, where do we find the balance between overconsumption?
Because you have access to something doesn't necessarily mean that you should be doing it all the time. Like you just need to take the time, and I used that word earlier, proprioception. It's like understanding like where your body is at, like feeling and knowing your body. And sometimes like us as black men, I know I've been smoking weed for a really long time, and I took a break.
Like a tolerance break?
Just a break, because I had been smoking for so long. It wasn't about tolerance or nothing like that. It was really more so like, I just felt like I used to tell myself I'll stop smoking whenever I want to. I'm not addicted to weed. It's not addictive. You know what I'm saying? So I could just stop whenever I want to. Well, if it's not addictive, then why don't I stop right now? And that's what I would ask myself. And then it would be like, because I don't want to. Like, why you don't want to? Because you're doing it, you're overdoing it. So you need to like listen to your body and listen to yourself. You know.
What would you offer as suggestion for people working on balancing overconsumption?
It's very hard for me to say that a person is overconsuming.
Right.
Because I don't know what they're exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're consuming for. You know, like my pain tolerance can be this and your pain tolerance can be that, you know. So I can never say, oh, you're overconsuming, you know. And so I don't know if I would have that type of conversation. But if I felt like it is affecting your ability to do anything else, like you're calling off work, you left your kids outside in the car, you know, if it was something like that, that's kind of bizarre. Then I would have to talk to you about getting some help. And if that's my friend, then I should be able to tell my friend, you know what, friend, you left the kids outside in the car. This is a safety issue. We need to get you some help. You have to be willing to say that, whether it's your male friend or a female friend. Because sometimes guys get scared, you know, to address their boys and say, hey, you're screwing up, dude, get your shit together, you know?
We hear that
they
a lot.
don't always want to do that. Like, you know, there's a lot of fatherless children out here because homeboys don't say, hey, man, why you don't ever have your kid on Father's Day? You know? So it's the same thing with cannabis. Like we black men I don't know if they ever say, hey, bro, man, you need to go to rehab and be serious about you going to rehab instead of cracking a joke
I've never
about
heard
it.
of somebody going to rehab.
Right. But I'm just saying, when she talk about overconsumption, I'm saying is you overconsuming to the point that you're not doing your normal functions as a human being. You're calling off work because you got to be high every 20 minutes and things like that. It might be some other things going on in that person's life. So I could never say somebody has overconsumed cannabis, you know.
All right.
I guess I feel
So
you.
in your bio, we talked about how you're one of the first Black women to have your brand and products on the shelves, which leads us to the fact that you will be having a new product available in dispensaries. Would you like to share with our audience what that product is and tell us a little bit about it?
So I'm coming out with a female line of disposable vapes, and they're going to be called Victoria LP Presents WakeNVape. And the cause behind it is to educate women, empower women, and make them know that there's a safe and discreet way to consume cannabis. I love it.
Oh,
Here's the thing. This was not a rush product for me. I took my time with it, started last year working on it. So we're planning to launch Mother's Day weekend. And so a little bit about it is the fact that I'm a soccer mom. I have kids that play soccer. There's other soccer moms that live out in Naperville and all of these dispensaries, and they are afraid to consume cannabis. You know, they're very conservative, worried about what their friends may think. So one thing we need to do is get those stigmas out of the way through education. And so WakeNVape is one of those things that our packaging is going to be cardboard. And when you open up the packaging, it's going to be an inspiring message to a woman, you know, like be gentle with yourself. You're doing enough, you know, and telling them to be calm. You know, you're doing your best, you know.
I love that.
Things that I want to do just to encourage women because we juggle a lot through the day. Another thing I like about it is it's very discreet. It fits right in my palm of my hand. So if I close my hand like this, you can't know that I'm somewhere probably potentially vaping.
Right, that's so discreet. That's absolutely discreet.
Charging port on it because a lot of times people are very irritated when they purchase disposable vapes that don't have charging ports and their battery dies before they're able to consume the rest of the oil.
Dispensaries won't give you a refund. You're not allowed to bring a used product back in the store. That's just a loss, a financial loss.
And then I also have, like, for extra security measures, there's a child-proof thing on here. So you will have to pull this out to vape. So you don't have to necessarily be concerned about a kid doing it because it's not easy for an adult to do it either.
But that's a really good selling point because a lot of times parents want to make sure that they have something that's safe even though there are children in the house.
It has a really fine finish. And the thing about this vape is I could have gotten this hardware is on the expensive side of hardware. And I could have gotten a cheaper hardware. I could have gotten, you know, actually they have some programs out here that you can actually get vape carts for free if you're social equity, like 5,000 if for people that's interested in launching their 72 flavors of vapes, you know? And so with that being said, I didn't want to just take the free vapes. I wanted to put my time and energy in developing something really nice to empower women and make you feel like a badass consuming cannabis.
Indica, a sativa, and a hybrid. Will you please tell everybody which is which and what the flavors are and why you chose those flavors?
So these are my favorite. These are my favorite colors, and they are purple and yellow. These are my funeral colors. Nobody is around to wear black at my funeral. This was long before Kobe days. And I call it the Kobe now because rest in peace to Kobe, the purple and yellow. This is the indica, and this flavor will be watermelon. And, you know, we have some terps in there to help with inflammation and induce sleep. So that's what the flavor is. And if I would have brought the other ones, I also have a sativa, which is our sunrise mango, hybrid, which is our berry bliss.
So hold on. So I'm sure you've probably heard about how people have said like actual eating mangoes when you smoke actually elevates your high. So was that part of, because of the terpene myrcene? So is that part of why you decided to go with a mango flavor for your sativa? Like to kind of give the elevation?
No, I read that after the fact. I was always a mango lover.
Yeah, wow.
I love mango everything. Mango margarita. So then I read about it because I was thinking about the actual terpenes and things like that I actually want to put in there. And then myrcene, I did do my research, darling. And so that's why. And I thought about that with chocolate. You know how chocolate and cannabis, you know, if you bind that fat with it, it'd be a nice intense high. So I was going for that with the sunrise mango for sure.
I can't wait to try it. I can't wait to
Yeah.
support this. We're so proud of you.
I'm
So tell us a
super
little
excited.
bit about the hybrid one now, please.
The hybrid is it's a strawberry flavor, and it's just a well balance of both, of course, the indica and sativa, and it has some of my other favorite colors attached to it. It's like my dress. You see, I'm constantly going with these.
Yes,
colors.
yes. It's all right. It's all right.
That wasn't on purpose though.
Why'd you choose that name?
So I was consulting for a client, and they had baked in their name.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yo, me, Berwin, and that client were all sitting down, and we were telling them that, yo, you need a bake. You don't have a baked good and you got bake in your name. You don't have a
Yeah.
vape and you got a bake in your name. And so initially I was going to launch a brand called Baked Vapes because baked was in the company's name.
Got
and
it.
so it was going to be Baked Vapes. And then I started scrambling over other ways to do this. And,
Yeah.
you know, I reached out to a couple of folks, Frank Cowan from Planet 13, a couple
Oh,
of people. I
yeah.
gave them a list, and I basically did what I would call a social experiment and gave them a list of names, and everybody and I tallied up who said this name, who said that name, and made the best person win. So all of those folks that helped me with my social experience meant that's how we came up with WakeNVape. I sent out the
Nice.
names, and it was like, yo. And Frank was like the first person to call, like, yo, go with the WakeNVape.
I think
That's
you got
dope. That's
something
dope.
there.
Like WakeNVape, you got WakeNVape.
I love that. I think that
I
is
do
amazing
too.
marketing. I'm
Thank
excited. Congratulations. You know, Women's History Month is coming to an end, so it is really great to see women in this space actually moving the needle forward, especially in terms of product placement, shelf space, and things like that. So we're really proud of you and
Thank you.
appreciate.
I appreciate you guys. I really do.
No doubt,
Like,
no
no
doubt.
cap. I'm for real. Not for the cameras. I'm serious.
We appreciate you, Jim. You setting a big example for, like I said, this whole podcast is really about mental health and helping people really to, you know, I remember when I was standing in front of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was doing things every day that was like not necessarily sustainable.
Okay.
So I really love what you're doing because it's like, you know, me seeing you is just like, damn, you just helped me. It's motivation. It helps my mental health. Helps me to see somebody like me, looks like me, saying the things that you're saying, seeing the issues that I see. You know, it just helps me. And then I know it helps my homies too because they be talking to me like, damn, bro, I didn't know it was all these people who was woo-de-woo. I'm like, man, I've been telling you this shit for months, bro. Your ass don't listen. But when you hear other people say it, cool. So
Yeah.
that's why we're here to do this because this is how our community works. So we just want to bring these resources to people so that they can understand we are the resource.
Yes.
You is the resource.
Yep.
People don't realize that, you know.
And it's important that we pour into each other, you know. I can't do everything. So, you know, if opportunities come up, you know, I told somebody that we all commonly know, hey, I'm launching my vape. I think you should launch a vape line. I think you should do one too, you know. You know, it's really, really important to put people in a position to win. Like if you are winning, reach back to your people, you know, and put them in a position to win. You know, put their names in rooms that they not sitting in. Hey, you know, I think the perfect person for that, you should call this person, you know. I had a craft girl call me about something like a week ago, and I said, hey, you should reach out to so-and-so. That'll be a good opportunity for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I don't think that, I know everybody is working on building their own legacy and all of that, but you know, you can build your legacy and you can bring your crew along with you, you know? And that's what I came here to do. I believe I was the first person to actually hire Black men to transport cannabis. We
Yeah.
were transporting and the guys like took their checks like no one else really took a chance on Black men as it relates to even transporting the product, you know?
So speaking of these opportunities, one thing a lot of our people may not be aware of is that to work in this industry, there are a lot of trainings that you have to go through or certifications. So doesn't one of your companies do state-approved training to be in the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
since we're talking about entering into the industry and, brothers wanting to be a part of cannabis, let's give some information on how they can start that journey to be eligible to work as a transporter or take advantage of some of these ancillary opportunities. So can you tell us about some of the state approved training that you provide?
Thank you. That was a good question.
I got you.
My company is ACC of Illinois, and we provide responsible vendor training.
Can you tell them what that means and what it is?
So what it is cannabis education. The state of Illinois require for you to submit a plan, which is typically a teaching curriculum that you would teach the public. And they gave you different subjects that they wanted you to teach on as it relates to responsible vendor training, and put it into a course that will allow you to certify individuals to actually work into the cannabis space.
Like dispensaries and transporters and stuff like that.
So within 90 days of employment, everyone that is working in the cannabis space, whether it's sales, dispensaries, any avenue, they're required to take responsible vendor training.
Yes.
It's a training that has to be taken annually. And that's really the first step. And honestly, I tell people, a lot of dispensaries, they do prefer you to have some sort of experience or training.
Yeah.
And so responsible vendor training is always the first step to go, education. And in addition to that, we also teach the sexual harassment training, because the state of Illinois requires everyone working in the dispensary to also take sexual harassment prevention in the workplace training. So we also provide that training as well through ACC of Illinois. We do infusion courses. We teach people how to infuse foods. We've been doing these classes literally since about 2015, 2016. It was always trying to teach people a cleaner method of making canna butter, and different processes to infuse foods.
And this is important for people who may be watching, who are entrepreneurs and want to work. You are currently in legacy market, but want to enter legal. It's important to take courses like this because you need to know state regulations. You need to know proper food handling procedures according to the state and all of that. And they can learn that with your particular programs, right?
Absolutely. And it's fun. And we introduce the different brands. I'm always one of those people. I encourage people to produce a product.
Yes.
Produce a product. But it also costs a lot of money to produce a product. It's not as easy as saying, hey, I'm going to put my stamp on and it's just going to go that way. You have to have the resources. And that's something I feel like we in the Black community don't have access to the same resources. Right. So we have to learn how to fundraise and to come together and to bring our friends along the way. Hey, if 10 of y'all get together, y'all can open up a dispensary. I literally told people this back in those days when it was time to open dispensary. And I'm happy that there's footage out there from when it first began that showed that was my message always, is to getting with a couple of people and coming together and building this thing out. Yeah. So my hopes for even with my vape line is, if we put support behind each other, okay? We're going to push out my line. Then we're going to push out whatever brand you bringing out. Then we got to put our support behind our people and our brand.
Agreed.
The same way we go support artists that we never met in life,
Seriously. No.
When people buy new Starbucks, they go to Starbucks and see, they got spring mocha lattes. I'm gonna buy one of these and all these.
So if if you buy, there has been people who have brought product that made products, and I brought products that I never even used. I brought the products to support that person, to continue to circulate the Black dollar within our community. And so that's what I'm hoping that we do in this industry, is to, come together more and put support behind each other and push them to the next spot. I'm not saying you got to drag them to the finish line because they have to want it for themselves. But I'm saying that if you are in a position to help someone else get to that next step, I think you absolutely should do it for the community.
I agree. A lot of people may not know that you are a complete beast when it comes to understanding contracts, negotiating, partnerships, and networking. how would you suggest for people out there who aren't as versed as you, what is a good way to become good at those things? And what is the importance of really paying attention to agreements and contracts?
So number one, no matter how expensive an attorney is, it pays to have an attorney. Pay that attorney. Get an attorney. But read that negotiation for yourself, you know?
Yes.
Read it for yourself, even if it's 73 pages, even if it's 115 pages. If you got to break it down and read them different days, you know, dissect that operating agreement or whatever that contract is.
Yes.
And whatever you don't understand, write the line number down. Okay, on line number 12, paragraph 3, what does this mean? Write notes of everything that you don't understand, because you need to have those questions answered. You have to be informed in order to make an informed decision, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to read it for yourself. Gain some clarity for yourself. And if you don't have that clarity, that's why you wrote those questions down. Then you have to get it over to an attorney. Make sure you pay an attorney to read these operating agreements. One thing I've heard over and over, and I played back in my head over and over, is you either got to be the shark or you're going to get eaten by the shark. Therefore, and when you say I'm a paperwork guru, it took some failures to get me here. Like, I need the community to know that I'm not just this successful woman that got lucky. I failed and I failed and I failed and I failed. And then I reached to a destination and I started winning.
I think they call it failing forward.
That's why I went and put my hand and honestly, I learned the lesson behind each experiment. So it did not cause me, a whole lot of trauma because I learned from it. So I'm happy what I learned from those experiences, because I was also able to teach people don't make some of the same mistakes I made. An operating agreement was not the mistake. That was not it. Y'all know I read. But it's other things that you can do when people are desperate and they offer you, some crazy amount of money, and you're not looking at what that money look like long term for you. You're looking at what that money look like now. And that's very easy for people in poor communities to be taken advantage of.
Like some of our social equity applicants and licensees.
Our social equity applicants and license holders, licensees now. And so you want to make sure, you are not in a position where you're too desperate. You just take anything, because and I'll tell you this, Master P was sharing his story on Solange's album, Seat at the Table. After every song went off on her album, some of the songs, not every song, but some of the songs, an interlude came right behind it. And you didn't know if it was an actual interlude because he just came in talking. And he was telling his story about, No Limit. So if you go back to the No Limit days, Master P said a person came to him and offered him $100 million. And he said, offered him $1 million. He said, if this white man came to me and offered me $1 million, I've got to be worth 30 or 40, even 50 million maybe. Mm-hmm. And so I'll think about that. I love his story. I love his hustle. He's like one of my favorite entrepreneurs of all times. Yeah. And that is one of the things I look at with the cannabis industry. Like, you got to look at it like the music industry, and sometimes look at it like you Master P.
That's true.
So if it sounds too good, some shit might be in there that,
that ain't right.
you might be listed as a member and not a manager of the company.
And it's little things have an understanding of cannabis legislation.
And that's another thing, because it's so many attorneys that claim to be cannabis attorneys, and then they turn around and want you to explain the cannabis industry to them.
Yeah.
That is not ideal for an attorney. You want a cannabis attorney that have done acquisitions before. You want an attorney that has a blueprint of work, a framework of working in Illinois as well as in other states.
Yeah.
A lot of people get bamboozled by out-of-state attorneys, you know, and then they retainer agreement, it be showing they all the way in South Carolina and some other places.
Where the laws are also different and where the cannabis legislation may not apply to the business or the state that you're in.
And and so it's very important to do your research and don't hire just any attorney just because they say they're attorneys. You got to make sure you read reviews, And so those are things that I have learned from experience that I can share to try to help another person not make some of the mistakes that I made. I made some very good decisions and I had some bad decisions, but it's a new industry and we're all learning as we go. And that's why I don't look at nothing as a failure.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Victoria Williams. Thank you all for joining us on the 72 Flavors podcast. This has been an amazing conversation and informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Watching the 72 Flavors podcast. If you're passionate about these issues and want to stay up to date with our latest episodes, hit that subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications about new episodes. We've got some incredible guests lined up and powerful conversations ahead that you won't want to miss.